Welcome to Oldsmob 455. If you've been keeping up with this series with the Firebird, when you first went and looked at it and we bought it, it looked cool in the parking lot. And then as we drove home, we started noticing everything. And the guy that owns this thing and drives it, he likes the inside of his car to be nice, and a lot of people like this. I always had cars that look good on the outside, they were never finished off on the inside. But the feel that the driver gets is the steering wheel and the shifter, and he's looking at his gauges and his dash, he wanted them nice, and the seat. So he's got the whole dash all redone, he's got his shifter all done, and the feel of the steering wheel, somebody had one that was really skinny, where your fingers, when your hand goes around, and you know what I mean, if you got too small one, then your fingers are doubling over. And then you get some steering wheels that are so fat, when guys put another cushion, they start to rat out on you, and they put this lace-up thing around there, and then your hand is like that. Well, this is just right. It fits in your hand, and you feel like you're gripping a pistol, It feels good. And some guys, just the shape of the steering wheel is different when you can hang your thumbs on it, like that. Or if you're going to do it really aggressively whipping through turns, it's nice to have some have them notched out in there if you get the boy racer type, that guys will put on like a Honda or something. They got really fancy steering wheels. But you want one that looks stock. Grip feels nice. It's just like aftermarket. And the next thing would be working on the seat. He's going to get the seats done so that the cushion is really nice. But you want the feel of the steering to be nice and taut and good brakes. And the brakes are all good, but the steering has a little bit of play. So we're going to put the steering wheel on, get it zeroed out, and then we're going to put some parts in it. It's going in for a front end alignment.
So I just popped the horn button off. And I never did like these silver screws. I think someone painted the heads. So we got a package of black ones from Ames. And we'll get this wheel off here and compare.
They stick out. Like, what are you trying to do? Show off your screws? I'd rather have black so you don't even notice that it's there.
Wheel just came right off of there. So we got them out, we're comparing them, and the OD is about the same. This is a reproduction wheel here. But if you look at the ID, you can see just how much thicker that new reproduction wheel is. And if you look in the Ames catalog, the early wheels started out at 3 7/8 and shrunk to 3 1/4, and eventually by the end of the production of that second gen series ended up at 3 1/8. You can see the width difference. So I doubt that this is an original wheel, but who knows. Something else we noticed when driving it is there's actually a bend to it. This wheel's pretty straight.
This feels firm in your hand. And like I said, the size is right. This one feels like a raw hot dog. If you picked up a hot dog before you cooked it, it feels funky. And it's just skinny. I think they must have just had a steel hoop and they wrapped some foam around it and sewed this on here. It just feels goofy. Sometimes when guys start getting bigger and bigger and they don't fit in cars, these are kind of a hassle when you get old like me and you want to get in and out of them. And guys that get older usually get a bigger gut. Sometimes you can get a steering wheel that's flat on the bottom just for sliding into the car, not dragging your gut across it. Back in the old days when you had a Model T, you actually had the Fat Man steering wheel. You'd hit this lever and the steering wheel would tilt up like that. Then you could get in easier and then you clicked it back on. And when you get into a race car and the doors are just locked solid, well then they got the steering wheel that just pops off.
So there are some complaints in the forum about this reproduction wheel bending easy. Like if you're trying to pull yourself up from under the dash, or you're trying to push the car with the steering wheel, which you should never do, they're talking about temper on the forum, and what I noticed is this wheel here, which I believe is the original GM wheel, is made out of some sort of steel, and that's made out of aluminum. And really the pieces look about the same thickness, the holes are drilled the same.
This one's definitely steel, you can feel it. You know, if you're juggling, you can probably get it out of balance because this one is, you know, the steering wheel isn't that heavy, but you can tell this one's a little bit heavier. Anywhere we can knock off an ounce, it'll make it go faster.
This definitely feels good in the hand.
Doesn't that feel like a hot dog?
Yeah, it's all mushy and it's skinny, but you can feel the metal ring inside of it. I guess your one has a reproduction wheel too that's supposed to be leather wrapped. It's supposed to be pretty good, but this looks good enough for me. I'm gonna try this for now. So here it is installed. Can't wait to drive it with this wheel. And those black screws I think look a lot better too. A lot more original type look.
You can see the difference between a tall guy and a little guy. I can hardly touch the gas pedal. When I drive, especially if you were gonna be like at a slalom race or something, I like to be above it, you know, and be able to whip the steering wheel. But it does feel a lot better. Like I said, you can hook your thumbs in here. When you're driving from California back to Wisconsin, man, that's a long haul. And even in a car, you'd think that, oh, that should be a breeze. But your body starts, especially when you got a seat that's sinking in and the cushion's going away, you feel every bump after a while. And you think about them people that rode on a buckboard over a dirt hill instead of blacktop, and they were bad to the bone because here we are driving a nice, smooth Trans Am, and you still get tired. But everything that we're doing to make the ride feel more pleasant will be more enjoyable when you're taking off for the next long trip that we take.
So we got a rear parts center link here. We're gonna toss it in. One of these ball joints is a little loose on there. This is an expensive piece. And we got a couple Moog outers before the alignment. Now this tool here works. Looks like pretty good.
After doing all this replacement of these parts, they were a little worn, and the steering box has a little wear in it. When we were taking it apart, somebody with a limp wrist again was putting the thing together, and I think they just put the nuts on deep enough where the cotter key would be in the slots of the castle nut. So I'm thinking, well, here's where all your play was. They didn't even tighten up the taper on the tapered shafts of the ball joints or tie rod ends. I'm thinking, man, this thing's going to be really tight after we put it back together. And we put all these parts back on it. It's still the same thing. So he's going to have to get the steering box, you know, rebuilt.